Okay. Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking time out and coming out on what seems to be a wonderfully rainy day in Calcutta. I got out of the flight and it was extremely hot when coming from Bangalore to Calcutta, and within half an hour the entire place changed, except for the fact that it took about 2 hours to get here from airport. It was a pleasant transformation, right, from an extremely hot to a wonderful weather. What I will try to do in the next 25 minutes, I would rather have a discussion than to rant on a few slides which I have, is to set two things, in terms of what we do with SAP, because given the audience and the interest, I'll try to focus more on what we do with SAP and where we are heading with them as one of the premier partners. I'll also touch upon some aspects of our overall cloud portfolio, just so that you get an understanding of why beyond SAP, what you can do along with IBM. And that's sort of 8 or 9 slides which I want to run through. Given that earlier speakers would have already covered why cloud, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is what we are seeing in terms of the engagements which we are having with clients across the world, right? If I look at it, there are three important aspects clients are looking at overall, whether with cloud or without cloud. One is the whole customer experience, engagement with the customer. Is it better? Is the customer able to reach me 24/7? Am I able to give him or her a better insight into what they're doing with me as a company? The second is there's a bunch of people who are now trying out new business models, ranging from just a brick and mortar company going onto web and trying to compete with the rest of the e-com players, to all the way to people who are taking the business model which is conventional and breaking it out and changing the way they go to market with, and they try to add revenue as compared to just save costs. And the third set of people, who are on this whole fundamental drive to change the way their operations are. Like, for example, one of the stuff we did with Airbus is, how can you get the mechanic or the person who is fixing a faulty plane have a visibility to the inventory of the number of parts and which is the nearest place to get it from, and how soon they can do from pushing a lot of data to edge, as compared to him raising a requisition, going into the back end, and then the status coming back, and then he needs to plan it out. Because if you are a flight operator, every day your flight is in the hangar, you're losing money, right? And how can we make it faster, etc. So these are the three fundamental shifts we are seeing, and these are three shifts which we're seeing cloud is enabling a lot of these in terms of being able to give people a fundamentally scalable infrastructure to have better customer experience, to look at cloud and cloud-based solutions for new revenues, and last but not the least, look at the way cloud basically saves money in terms of reusing your infrastructure better or consuming it from someone else in a much price optimum and cash flow model for achieving the operational processes, right? As a function of that, what we're also seeing is that to achieve any of these three, we're seeing that the business is becoming not a standalone monolith anymore. Now it is becoming an ecosystem. You have a bunch of things which are happening inside and outside your organization, right? There's a bunch of things which are happening outside your organization where people are talking about you, talking about the levels of service you're providing, or things which might impact your organization in terms of things as simple as weather, to all the way to a bunch of sensors spread across the world, etc. Right? Today I keep telling this when I go and talk to CIOs and CMOs, etc. If I have a problem with Jet Airways or Air India or anything, I don't necessarily call them, right? The first thing people do today is bitch about it in Twitter or Facebook or things which otherwise they would call you and let you know that they were unhappy or they took longer, is reaching to the public much before it gets to you. and it's probably going to stay there longer than it comes to you. So this ability to not just look at the data which is inside, which we're all experts at. All of you run organizations where you have excellent ways of looking at the data which is in-house to make sure that you understand what is happening with the enterprise. But when you marry that with data which is sitting outside of your enterprise, be it social, be it sensor, be it weather, whatever it is, right? We talked about, data sources, apps, and communities. You create something which is now then coming out with new insights and new inferences to what you would otherwise not have in the past. And that's what we set out to do with SAP earlier this year, right? In terms of 2014, we announced a partnership with SAP to basically take their SAP platform onto cloud, IBM cloud, both across HEC and HANA and regular non-HANA cloud setups. But as a next phase of this, what the two companies agreed is that if you look at SAP as a master of truth inside the organization across transactions, across HR, across procurement, depending on all the other acquisitions they have, and you look at IBM as a provider of technology which can basically allow this data to be merged. If you go to the previous slide, if you look at that other slide to be what SAP provides in terms of value from your organization and IBM being able to get you data which can be consumed from outside, then there's a huge digital transformation which can happen, right? And this is basically a busy chart, but it's not for us to read. But what does it mean, right? What we're doing together with SAP is that we put a bunch of people focused on merging, not just making, what we've always been doing is how can we make SAP run faster, get onboarded faster, et cetera, on IBM infrastructure, whether in cloud or non-cloud. What we're doing is, what are all the surround systems which are there to an SAP environment? And if we are able to merge these two and create an asset to go out to the market, the much more powerful insights can be done. Simple. If you're using, say, SuccessFactors as a HR application, if I'm front-ending that with a Watson cognitive solution to look at the social profile of a candidate who is applied, who otherwise you would be directly trying to sort of profile using SuccessFactors and recruit or interview them. And if you're able to merge, it's a simple, I'm making it trivial, but it's a very important use case, right? If you're able to use a cognitive solution from IBM to scour the social data about this candidate and build a profile of what this candidate likes, doesn't like, what is the proficiency, how many times has he blogged about certain things, and marry it with the climate which you as an organization have, the ability to do successful hiring is compounded big time, right? And that is what we are trying to do, right? Or simple things, right? If you are a retailer or a FMCG company or consumer company, right? Simple thing like a weather data, if the weather data is provided or consumed to say that summer in Kolkata is going to be 3 weeks longer than expected, would you be then sending more beverages to the department stores versus sending more hot beverages to the department store, right? Simple things which can then start making sense because you have this huge amount of data sitting out and IBM providing an ability to consume them easier and bringing what is already available on a SAP platform, be it HR data, be it procurement data, or be it your transaction data, together is what this whole digital transformation is, right? And that's what we're doing a huge amount of focus, because if I look at it, phase one of the relationship was to ensure that IBM becomes a number one partner for SAP to move SAP workloads onto our cloud. But now the discussion is beyond just moving SAP onto cloud. And I'll tell you the reason, right? And most of you would have already had this journey or on the verge of doing this journey is when you have to build a case for a HANA migration from your traditional ECC. Some of the things you are wondering about is There's money associated to the license, there's money cost associated to migration, and you're trying to build in ROI or a TCO to say, why should you do it now, right? This have always been happening in isolated terms of just by SAP itself. Now, by moving this onto cloud, the SAP onto cloud, and having a set of surround systems all available on the cloud, the latest cognitive solutions are anyway going to be available on cloud, be it from IBM or be it from anyone else. Social media analytics is anyway going to be on cloud, right? Given that some of the new data sources which complement what you have are anyway available on cloud, your reasoning for moving to HANA and moving to a cloud model becomes much more stronger, and that's the focus we are trying to bring to it. It's not necessarily about optimizing your core SAP setup, but it's about how to ensure that you can change the dynamics of what you do with the data you have, marrying it with the data which is outside, which is what we're trying to focus, right? The reason which we're doing that is, if you look at this slide, I've been doing this job, God knows, 2007 onwards. I think in 2008 when I came back to India, I started doing these. Most of the conversations for the first 2-3 years were very much in the to the center, right? The cost efficiency conversation. In 2008, when this whole economic collapse happened, you would read in papers that companies are investing $0 or 0 rupees on capital, and CIOs used to worry about how can I still accommodate the growth the company is going to have with no new money coming in to buy new hardware. And that's when a lot of virtualization, a lot of ability to make the infra much more effective we're having, right? Slowly over the last 2-3 years, the conversation has changed. Apart from, or not changed, adding to the cost effectiveness, people are looking at, how do I innovate by basically using what is already available on the cloud and marrying it with my cost efficiencies, which I've achieved in the phase 1 of cloud, right? And then last but not the least, what people are basically trying to do is they are actually now moving beyond innovation, trying to see how can I become an integrated company which has solutions available on the cloud, which are not just focused on saving dollars because I'm converting a capital to operational expense, but more because I'm able to consume a lot of things which are otherwise outside the realm of the enterprise or too expensive to be hosting inside the enterprise, right? If you look at things like advanced analytics or cognitive apps or Internet of Things, etc. So it's almost like everything is coming together, the forces is coming together where at one end, our relationship with SAP is nurturing more towards not just hosting SAP, but complementing what they have and what we have. The organizations are moving towards more, okay, fine, the ability to save some cost because I'm now moving into an operational expense as compared to capital is fine, but what else can I do around it by moving to cloud is also coming together. And that's what basically we are embarking on this journey. There are a bunch of assets which we have. There's some demos which are available in the booth to just basically go back and see in a particular industry what we're doing and how these assets can sort of help you, move faster on this transformation, right? This is basically built on this foundation which we announced in 2014, where IBM was chosen by SAP as one of a premier certified hosting and a cloud services partner, right? And this is where we started the journey, where SAP started two things, right? One, SAP started fulfilling some of their existing HEC contracts onto our infrastructure on the cloud, and also allowed us to go ahead and migrate on-prem customers onto our cloud, and make that platform to be a certified platform. And that's the sort of foundation on which all the previous slides have been built on, right? So what that basically means is IBM Cloud, which is now ranked as #1 in hybrid cloud, runs its own dark fiber, free data transfer. 47 out of the 50 Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 50 companies are using IBM Cloud. Basically now is being used as one of the key infrastructure provider partners for SAP on their journey. That basically means when you bet your future or your choice of cloud and for running SAP workloads, IBM is already been selected by SAP itself to be their choice of a provider of this infrastructure. And that's what this slide is all about, right? In the next slide, I'll talk about a bit more. So when we talk about 46 cloud data centers, this is how geographically they are split, right? Some of you are running multinational companies. Some of you have aspirations of getting multinational. You want to buy companies across the world. What we do is we almost have a data center everywhere in civilized portion of this world, right? In fact, this is slightly dated. I couldn't get the new slide in time. We have now, about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, we have one in Seoul, in South Korea, which has just been opened as a data center. So, and by about October, we'll have one in Nordics in Oslo. So we'll be about 49 data centers. We're about 49 data centers going towards 50 data centers by the end of the year types. What this gives us is an ability for supporting you, devoid of where you're geographically going to expand. And if you look at this statement which we made, runs on its own dark fiber and free data transfer, what we have done is IBM has invested into fiber across all these 47 data centers. And what that allows you and enables me to do is to move data between any of these data centers free of cost, managed by us. So when you are a global company and you have units working in multiple countries, all that you're doing is getting connected to the nearest data center, and everything else behind to move the data between our data centers is managed by IBM, free of charge for you as an end customer. Which basically is not only, it's a great thing to have, but also from a commercial model, you're not worried about, is my IO this month going to be less compared to next month because I have to do a lot more activity in a particular country, etc. This almost becomes predictable. And that is what is a big difference which we bring to the table. The geographical footprint and ability to connect all of these. Simple, today in Chennai, if you were to do your hosting of production SAP, you can use Singapore as a DR, and the cost involved, all that you're paying for in the DR is the capacity which you have reserved for yourself. Otherwise, the cost of data transfer on a day-to-day basis from a replication perspective, etc., is all taken into, it's all free of cost. And that's where a huge amount of advantage comes to the picture when you have DR-DC combinations running across the world and everything else managed by IBM, including the network provided between these data centers. Because the reason I'm stressing on that is most of the cloud providers otherwise charge for every gigabyte of data you move across data centers or you download from the data center. And that's a unique differentiation we brought to the table, right? Also, on this slide, I just want to, if you look at the legend there, this white, red, and blue, what we have is SoftLayer is a company which we bought about 3 years ago, 2013 we bought it. It's an Intel-only infrastructure as a service, which we have across the world. The blue circles which you're seeing, the dark blue circles which you see, are our own data centers called Cloud Managed Services, where we provide power as a service, AX as a service, not just Intel. So you have SoftLayer to use Intel, you have CMS or the blue circles to use AX as a service. So across these two chipsets, you can pretty much do whatever you want, supporting a multiple variety of databases, etc. through this. And what we have also done, and we have customers, very strangely, I can't tell the name because they've not yet become a reference. In the same country, they use SoftLayer for the web part, and the DB is running on the AX part, right? And because we have connected these two data centers with a low latency, high speed network. So your Intel workload is running on SoftLayer, and your non-Intel workload is running on CMS, and they're perfectly working together to deliver an end customer. And that's what is another differentiation we bring. So unlike a lot of other providers, we also have RISC as a chipset, which is available as a service for you to consume, right? And if you look at the SAP portfolio, I don't want to go through all of these, but each of you will be able to relate to any of the modules or all of the modules which are available there. On the right-hand side, which, my right-hand side, left-hand side is where I have the operating system. So I support AX, I support Red Hat, and Microsoft Windows as operating system. And from a databases perspective, we support DB2, Oracle, Sybase, SQL Server, and HANA, right? So you have the widest variety of operating system choices, widest variety of DB choices, and the widest variety of locations, apart from the entire service catalog of SAP being made available to you on a consumption model on a per month payment model across the world anywhere. And that's basically the foundation on which we are building this whole digital transformation initiative along with SAP, where we are bringing on the same cloud where we are running, you probably are running SAP. You could have a Bluemix service or a cognitive service running in the same cloud, same data center, complementing and talking to the SAP service, SAP, to be able to give much better insights to you, for example, or you can have mobility setup running on the same data center so that your end customer, your suppliers or your employees are able to have a mobility enabled application for accessing data and SAP, etc. So that's the sort of, what do you want to say, the lowdown on what we do with SAP. And the way you can consume this is again available in 3 models, right? And depending on the way you are doing business today, running SAP on-premise or wanting to do SAP. So we have one where IBM will manage till the operating system, and everything about that is to be managed by you or a system integrator of your choice. Or if you're running HANA, for example, we take care till the database. When I'm saying till the operating system, I'm certifying to you, committing to you, not certifying, an availability number, right? If I basically do a database setup, I'm saying the HANA DB will be available for 99.5% of the time. And anytime if I miss the deadline, I basically start paying you service credits or money, right? And last but not the least, I can also run the entire thing till the runtime where I'm saying the SAP availability for you is 99.5 and everything else is you. Meaning you can bring in your AMS and otherwise I'm giving it to you all the way there, right? And what are we doing? We can do both the landscape, production and dev tests, certified HANA and non-HANA on cloud, business-centric SLAs, I just spoke to you about the availability of application and not necessarily the infra, right? And then resiliency in terms of the DR, I spoke to you about how we have data centers across the world and you can connect it by the dark fiber and you can do that. And last but not the least, we also have physical servers made available to you in the cloud. So if there are things which you want to do on a pure physical server and not a virtual server, you can use the same cloud to do that. And lastly, if some of you are basically starting this journey of understanding the impact of HANA or wanting to start development, what we have is something called a startup bundle, which is a very small setup, usually used for dev tests or training purposes. Minimum contract size is about 3 months to 2 months. You can get access to a HANA setup without any connectivity issues on the internet in about 3 days. Right? That's basically get your feet wet or use it for training for 2 months. If, for example, if you're already doing a HANA production on-premise, but if you want a training setup, you can just go pick up the startup bundles for about 2 months, and it's made available to you in like 3 days. And you get access it on the internet. So that's basically what we have as a consumption model for SAP on cloud, on IBM cloud, right? And we're not, the reason why we're able to do it is because we've been, and this is the standard benchmarking, I don't need to go through this, and if you look at it, all that this slide tells is, I don't want to look at the numbers and explain, etc., is that from a price to performance perspective, we are standing one of the best and by a huge difference, right? By a huge difference. So IBM chipsets or IBM cloud processors are one of the best in terms of a price performance ratio for your SAP workloads, right? And this is a standard benchmarking which SAP does, right? If you are basically looking at taking this journey and you want to start building a view of an ROI or a TCO, we have partnered with Alinian. You can actually access that URL, register, it's free of cost, we fund it in the backend. You register and you can actually start building your own TCO ROI for your HANA journey or for your next SAP on cloud journey. It's a very exhaustive questionnaire ranging from capturing inflation to currency exchange rates, etc. So that it will actually give you a wide variety of perspectives of where you can save money by moving into some of these things, right? I was just talking to Lavand, who sort of heads SAP Cloud for IBM, and he was saying that one of the first customers he did was an airline company, which if you had to change your flights, dynamic pricing, because of traditional ECC, they used to do dynamic pricing once a day, and the entire business case was done that by them moving to HANA, now they're able to reset or do dynamic pricing in 15 minutes because of the performance which they get with HANA as an in-memory database. And some of those things are all captured there to help you sort of start looking at things around how is this going to be better and how do I get my CFO approval or board approval to make this journey possible. And we have the tool, you can reach out to us, we can help build it, or it's actually a very useful self-service tool. And if you get caught, you can call one of our guys and they'll be more than happy to run you through that, right? So 3 things which I wanted to leave you guys with, right? Start making a plan to make a plan of how to basically start leveraging data with you and complementing with what might be available from IBM, from a cognitive perspective, from a mobility perspective, from an IoT perspective, etc. SAP and IBM are together in this transformation journey. They are complementing the technologies like S/4HANA with cognitive solutions from us or advanced analytic solutions from both SAP and us. And IBM is cloud's SAP premier strategic provider for HANA. So as you are making these decisions to move to HANA from your traditional databases, please do consider reaching out to us or talking to us. And we have now, I think the last time we spoke, we didn't. In July, we now officially run SAP in our Chennai data center for you to actually have a in-country production setup if required, if that is something which from a regulatory perspective you want it to be done, right? That's about it. I have 5 minutes exactly on the clock. Any questions, anything, please?
I'm Shamaraj Jatar from Electro Steel. I have a specific question. When you are talking about SAP IBM Cloud, you are referring to software only, or you have other flavors
okay.
also?
So in this, there are some blue dots. There are 2 types of data centers we have. One is software, which is Intel only, running on Zen as a hypervisor. We have the blue data centers where we have Power, our AIX, which is running Power VM and AIX as a service.
Okay.
So both of them are available. Only thing is, if you are in the country, the only data center we have in India for doing this is an Intel data center, which is software data center. The nearest for us will be either in Sydney or in Tokyo.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so if there are no other questions, I do want to mention that we do have IBM experts outside, and they have, sorry, is that a question or no? Yeah, so we do have IBM experts outside, and you have any questions on this deck or anything else pertaining to the cloud, you can get in touch with them during the breaks. Thank you so much, Vamsi.